This is Dandelion Dreams podcast. My name is Julia Mason. Ouch! My husband and I live in Oregon, and we raise sheep for lamb and wool. That's my intro, which I always find very awkward. I kind of wanted to address the stuff that's been going on social media, specifically Instagram and the knitting community. And I think it's really good and important, and I'm excited about it. It is sad to see people getting really defensive about it. I'm sorry, I should probably address what it is first. So in case you're not on Instagram and you're not aware, there's the discriminatory side of the knitting community has kind of come to light recently, and people are just discussing race and how it affects creators and how people are treated differently, and maybe not given the exposure that basically white women are given. So I think it's a great conversation. I'm really happy to see it happening. I don't really have anything to contribute other than to say I'm listening. I think it's amazing that people are being willing to share their hurtful stories, and especially I assume that people don't get mistreated because I try not to mistreat people, and I try to, be welcoming and open to people in general. And so I assume that it doesn't happen anymore. But obviously that's not true. And I mean, there's been studies about implicit bias and how just culturally we've been conditioned to treat people differently based on race. And so it's totally valid. And especially after reading everyone's stories, it's really sad to me how prevalent the discrimination is. I mean, person after person shared about the way they've been treated in yarn stores or knit nights or things like that. And it's just really sad because it's like this is supposed to be, and it is in a lot of ways, like the most welcoming community. But it's really sad to think that not everyone has had that experience. So anyways, I just wanted to say that I hear people's hurt and their stories, and I really am sorry for the way that people have been treated, and I hope it changes. I know that I want to advocate for and stand up for people if I ever see injustice, but I can't guarantee that no one else is going to be a jerk and treat people badly, and so I can't promise that it's going to change, but I know for me, I think that we should all treat each other kindly and respectfully. And yeah, that's about it. So yeah, but if you're not on Instagram and you don't know that's going on, then I encourage you to go read some people's stories and learn about other people's experiences, because not everybody has had a really positive experience in the community. So yeah. So that's that. Anyways, I have some knitting to talk about. I will start with what I don't have any finished object. No, I do have a finished object. I guess I'll do that, even though it's kind of out of order. But anyways, I think I have two. I don't believe I showed you guys Nicholas's hat completed last time. So this is the hat. Oh, it's all crumpled. I blocked it and then I shoved it in a bag. That was smart. Also, I turned my camera around so that it's my phone, to try and get a better picture, because the camera is better on this side. So anyhow, I can't see myself, so I really can't tell if I'm doing a terrible job or not. I actually think I should check and make sure this is still recording. Let's see. We're good. So, sorry about that. So this is different and weird for me because I can't see myself, which I think will be good because I'll be less self-conscious about my forehead. But anyways, so I made this Harlow hat for my husband Nicholas. He wanted kind of a thin stocking cap to put on under his cowboy hat because he wears a cowboy hat while working all the time. So I made the child size because he has a tiny head, but I made it a bit longer than Felicity's, I believe. And yeah, was his Christmas present. It was a little bit late, but I didn't actually cast it on until after Christmas. But I used two Malabrigo sock yarns for the yarns. The colorway Ivy is the one that's on the outside here. And then, oh geez, I do not remember what this blue one is called, but I will try and find it and put the name of it up in text. So this blue colorway is really pretty. And it's funny because online it looked like the Malabrigo pictures don't always really represent what the yarn will look like in person, and that's fine. I mean, I expected that, but it had a lot more gray mixed in with it online, and this one is pretty consistently just a tonal blue, but I'm really happy with it. I think it looks really good. And I bought those 2 skeins, obviously, and I think that this, I can't remember if it's 25 grams. I can't remember now, because I think you can make like 4 of these out of those 2 skeins, so maybe it's 50 grams. So I'm not sure, but I have quite a bit of those 2 sock yarns left, so I'm trying to think what I can do with them. I really like Malabrigo sock, and I really like both these colorways, so hopefully I will find something fun to do with that. So this is, like I said, the Harlow Hat pattern. This is the 3rd one that I've made, so that was definitely a very good buy. That's by Andrea Mowry. And yeah, I don't know what else to say about this. Yeah, Nicholas wore it quite a bit when we had a little bit of a cold snap, and then the weather has been really balmy and beautiful, and yeah, pretty warm, so he hasn't been wearing it. So that's that. And my other finished object is another brioche hat, but a different pattern. And this is by Refracted Lights Knits, Refracted Light Knits or Lights, I don't know. Is the pattern designer, and I think his name is Ethan. And this is his first ever pattern, and he had a call for testers, and I had been planning to make Daisy May her own little hat, so I just jumped on that, and he did the long tail cast on for his hat, and I chose to do the cabled cast on because I had been using that for my sweater, and I liked the way that it looked. However, I don't think it was the best choice for a hat. It seemed really stretchy for my sweater, but this requires a lot more stretch, and with the brioche stretches a ton, so I think it wasn't the best cast on choice, and it also made it so that the colors were very like it's all gold on the cast on edge. I don't know if you guys can see that, all gold on the cast on edge, and then the turquoisey tealy green, and then the gray, and so they're all kind of blocked together, which is a little weird, but oh well. So this is the baby size, so it says infant toddler, which I don't know, it fits Daisy, and she is a toddler. She's a little bit over 1, but it's pretty close to her growing out of it. And so I might knit her one size up. I have more of this. This is Knit Picks yarn that I got as a hand-me-down from my sister, and it is really old. I have no idea when or who bought this originally, so I'm sure this colorway is not a thing anymore, but I really, really enjoyed knitting with it. It was really fun, and it's like a variegated, and that was really a fun experience to knit a 1-color brioche with variegated yarn, because a lot of the stitches you'd be knitting 3 different color sections of the yarn into 1 stitch, which was fun. Like, I don't know, weird things make knitters happy, and that's, for me, that was one of them. So yeah, it was a really enjoyable knit, and you can see kind of how the colors played together there, and I really liked how they kind of all evenly spread out for this size hat and in the stitch pattern, but then when I went smaller, it kind of, they blocked or pooled, I mean, weirdly. And then let's see what the other side looks like. Yeah, and then they did a different pooling pattern on this side, but and then he had an interesting decrease pattern, which was different than the Harlow Hat, and that was really, I really liked doing this one. It was a little quicker and easier for my brain, even though that the Harlow Hat is also pretty easy. So yeah, that was fun. I forgot what I was saying. Oh, I'm curious if I make her a size up, if they will pool differently. So we'll see. I don't know if I'll get around to it, to making her another hat, but she just also rips hats off of her head immediately. So that kind of hurts my desire to make her mini, but I knew that I needed to make her one at least, because whenever we do things as a family and we're all outside and it's cold, I'm always like, oh shoot, Daisy doesn't have a hat that I've made her, other than an old like acrylic Jane hat that I made her, which if you're familiar with the show Firefly, I made Jane hats for our whole family a few years ago. So she has one of those, but it doesn't, I don't know, I don't like it that much. I want to, you know, have like something nice and wool and handmade for everybody, especially just because wool is significantly warmer than acrylic, I think. So those are my only finished objects. I think I'll show you my works in progress from like what I first cast on, in order of cast on, I guess. Actually, yeah, I will just show it to you. I won't make there be a bunch of suspense. So, I think, I don't remember what I talked about in the last podcast. I think we hadn't started the cowl yet. So for the knit along, the New Year's cardigan cowl, we are all making cardigans, and there's a few people entered, which is really exciting. There's still plenty of time to enter. I don't think that it ends until March 15th, and so that's a long time if you're doing a heavier gauge cardigan. I just cast on mine, I think 2 weeks ago, and I'm almost done. I know not everybody has as much time as me to knit. So yeah, but I still think that there's plenty of time for everyone. Yeah, so I was going to make the Ramona cardigan, as you might know, and that's just a plain, really nice, practical cardigan, and I wanted that so that I would have another more hard-wearing kind of jacket style cardigan that I can wear outside while I'm working. That is something that I've made. But I realized, which was really ridiculous. So I bought this yarn. It's a cheap brand from Hobby Lobby. It's the I Love This Wool, which is I don't know. The brand originally was called I Love This Yarn, and they had acrylic yarns, and they added wool, and so it's just a really, really cheap wool. It has some splices. It has a lot of fuzzy shortcuts that I've just kind of been picking off and throwing. It has a lot of keds, which are like weird looking little white hairs that are prickly, and but overall for the price, it's fine. Like, it works great. I'm happy with it. It's not like a joy to knit with. I'm not like savoring every moment of it or anything, but it's making a really nice looking garment, and I think I'm going to be really happy with it, I hope. And if you're someone who doesn't have the budget to buy really fancy yarn, but you want to knit with wool so that it will, you know, maintain its shape and, you know, last a really long time for you, then I think the I Love This Wool brand, more affordable brand of wool, is totally reasonable and is something that you can definitely get a good end product out of it. So, and it's been working really good for color work, because I was silly and I didn't pay attention to the size of the yarn. I, for some reason, had assumed it was the same gauge of yarn that I had used for my Ramona, but it was significantly different. I think the Ramona cardigan was Aran weight and this is worsted weight. So when I sat down to do the gauge swatch, I was like, this is not at all the same size of yarn as what I did last time. Then I realized I didn't have the right, I think I didn't have enough yardage to do the Ramona cardigan unless I really, I don't know. No, that doesn't make sense. I had the right amount, I think. I could have made it work, but I would have had to play with the pattern a lot and figure out maybe a bigger knit the size up or something. But I didn't really want to mess with that. I just decided to find, and I wasn't sure that I would have the right amount of yarn because I had the same yardage. That's what it was. I had the same yardage as I did for my Ramona, but a much smaller gauge. So I didn't think it would add up right. Maybe it would have, but I wasn't sure. So I decided instead that I would do a color work piece that called for the right, like the yardage and the gauge that I had, and I would add some of the white because I had bought white of the same brand, and the white is significantly softer in case you're curious. And so I decided I would just do a color work cardigan to kind of stretch my yardage a little bit just in case. But I'm looking at it now and I have way more than enough yarn. Because all I have left to do is the rest of the yoke and the button bands, and I have like almost a full skein. Well, maybe I don't remember what I did with this yet, so maybe this is a full skein, but it looks like I broke this, so maybe I used some of that. And then this little guy. So I have plenty of brown, I believe. So I went with the Sun Daughter pattern, and I added a steek because this is a pullover pattern. So I added 5 stitches in the middle that is plain, and you can see my steek here is just some random pattern just to keep the yarns together. So at the end, in case you're not familiar with steeking, once this pattern, or once the sweater is totally done, I will be reinforcing on either side with I'm probably just going to use a zigzag stitch on the sewing machine, and then cutting down the center, laying the steek back, and then adding a button band. So it'll be a cardigan. It's been nice though, because I prefer knitting in the round. I don't know who doesn't, but it's nice to be able to knit in the round. And I haven't done a yoked cardigan, or excuse me, I haven't done a yoked sweater. Well, that's not true. I did one for Daisy, so I did a little one, but I haven't done an adult-sized yoked colorwork cardigan. Sweater, pullover, jumper. Too many names for things. So I really wanted to do that, and I really like this pattern so far. Let me see if I'll insert an image of the sweater from the pattern page so that you can see what it's supposed to look like. So I'm most of the way done with the colorwork portion. I think maybe I'm only halfway done. But as it gets smaller, that'll go faster. So I guess technically I'm most of the way done. So that's that. I extended the sleeves quite a bit because the pattern said to make them 17.5 inches. And at that size, it was only coming up to like here on my arm. And I really don't want sleeves that are going to ride up. And I thought with the wool, I know it's not superwash. So I'm a little apprehensive that it might shrink a little bit on me. Even just washing it carefully by hand. So I would really hate to finish the sweater with the sleeves being kind of like at the limit of how short I want them and then have them shrink. So I decided to make them extra long for me. And yeah, all I have left is the rest of the yoke and the neckline, and then grafting the armpits closed, and then steeking it, which will be really fun. Maybe I'll record that. I think everybody should record their first steek because cutting your knitting sounds scary. So yeah, it's been really fun. I actually just started the color work last night, and yeah, I'm glad I'm to the fun part. The body and the sleeves were pretty boring because it's like one color of kind of scratchy wool in just plain knitting, stockinette stitch knitting. So and I did the sleeves 2 at a time. Which I like because you get them over with and you don't have to fiddle with turning your needles as often. However, if I had smaller circular needles, like smaller than the hat size circular needles, maybe I would have done them one at a time. But anyways, I did do a dumb thing in my true form I don't know how I did this, but I cast on 2 different size sleeves. So one sleeve, I think maybe this one, was 2 stitches smaller than this one. And somehow didn't notice it and did all the increases, and at the very end counted my stitches just for good measure and realized that I had too few stitches on one side. So I was like, okay, cool. And so I did one more increase round and then finished the length and was like, that's good enough. I tried it on. You can feel that it's slightly snugger than the other side, but it's not that bad. So I'm not re-knitting an entire sleeve or something that minor. So that was a little silly of me, but it worked out. And then somehow even after that, and I counted and recounted, when I did my color work, my first round of color work, there was 1 too many stitches. So I decreased 1 and moved on. I don't know where that extra stitch came from, but oh well. So yeah, I'm really pleased with how that's coming along. I think that'll be a really nice, classic looking wearable sweater. And I can't remember who that's by, but I'm sure I'll have already put the name in by now. So that's that. And the next thing, I cast on this other odd thing the other day and haven't gotten back to it. Oh, did I bring my books? I thought I did. That's too bad. So I got 2 books recently. One is a Stitch Bible, and it's a little older. I don't have it. That's disappointing. So it's a Stitch Bible, and it is kind of disappointing. It has quite a few cable patterns in it, but it doesn't have very many lace patterns, which is kind of what I was hoping to have a lot of, and the ones that it does have aren't super, like, slick. Like, they're kind of clumsy and dumb looking. So I was kind of disappointed with that. I was like, oh, okay, well, whatever. It was like $3 though, because I got it on thriftbooks.com, which if you've never checked out thriftbooks.com, I highly recommend it. A lot of times with newer books, they'll have them full price, but if you're looking for something a little bit older, they'll often have things for under $5, and if you spend $10, you get free shipping, so you can't really beat that. So especially, yeah, if you're just looking for something that you kind of want to try out, but it's not like a new thing, or somebody, like this Stitch Bible, for instance, was a really old Stitch Bible, and I was like, well, I'll give it a try because it's $3 or whatever. And then I also got a Fair Isle book with it, and that I was not disappointed by. I spent like $6 or $7 for that one, and it's a really good book. I'll try to include the names of those here too. And the Fair Isle book is really cool. It has a lot of like old patterns and history and pictures, older pictures that are really cool. So that's a really fun one, and I'm excited to play with some of that and maybe design a couple small, like traditional Fair Isle but in my own pattern, because I think that would be fun. So I cast on this, as I was saying, because I told Felicity I would make her a little neck gaiter cowl thing, and I couldn't find a lace pattern that I liked for it. And then today on Instagram I found a lace motif and graph, or chart, excuse me, that I really liked, and I think if I can fiddle with it and get it, I might just have to rip this out because I think it's the wrong stitch count now, but if I can get it to look good and read the chart correctly, because it's in, the text is in Russian, but I don't think the text that was below the post really explains it anyways, and there isn't like a key. So if I can interpret all the symbols correctly, then I will be using that motif because I really liked it. So I was thinking I would make this the right amount of stitches to fit that pattern, and then make that for Felicity. And I think that will be really cute. This is like bamboo and silk, mostly bamboo though, I think. And it's so soft. So hopefully it will look really nice with that lace pattern. And I had to steal my 4.5mm needle, so I put these wooden ones on there to hold my stitches. So yeah, that's another odd thing. And then another whip. This is an old one, and I feel really bad. So for any of you who have watched my podcast long enough, this has been on the needles forever, and it was supposed to be a baby blanket for a friend, and she's really awesome, and we don't see her very often. She lives like I think an hour, maybe an hour and a half away, and we don't see a lot of our friends that often anyway. We're just kind of busy. Little kids make it really hard to socialize. And then she just had 2 little ones. Well, she had one like a year ago, and then another one more than a year ago. Anyways, because time has gone by, a lot of time. So her baby, who I was going to give this to, has kind of outgrown baby blankets already. I mean, yeah, by the time I finally got this thing done and given to them, it would be way too small for her little boy. So I'm like, whatever, I need to just knit them something simpler and more practical that they can use for longer, like maybe a couple of hats or something, and do something else with this. So yeah, so I'm debating whether I should rip this out and do something new with it, or if I should, I don't know, I thought about turning it into like a wrap thing, or I don't really know. Yeah, I don't really know what I could do with it. Oh, I'm just keep showing you the wrong side. This is the right side. It's the Gold Stitch something Pines baby blanket. And I don't know, so if you have an opinion, I thought about just making it into either seaming it so that it's like a cowl. Let's see what that would look like. I don't know, like that, which I think would be really comfortable. But I couldn't decide. So then it would have the two panels of garter together, and that would be the back, so it wouldn't look that bad. I don't know. So I'm not sure. And I still have another 50 grams of it, so yeah, it might be enough to do that and then maybe make like a matching hat to go with it. I don't know. But I really like this yarn, and I don't know. Yeah, I think it might just be, I've totally lost my desire to finish this stitch because it's so, I don't know, monotonous. It's like if it had a more interesting color going on that was changing or something, then the stitching wouldn't be so boring. But I've lost all steam. So I'm thinking of just making myself something out of this quickly so that I can be done with it, and then casting on something new for her kids that is maybe a heavier gauge, and I can just get it done and give it to them because it's kind of ridiculous. I didn't end up getting to go to her baby shower, so I wasn't able to give her a gift at the time, and so then I thought I would knit or something. Anyways, that's the whole thing. So if you have an opinion, I'm really curious how you think I should handle this and what I should do with it. It is really soft, so I definitely could see myself wearing it. But yeah, I don't know. Hopefully she never watches my podcasts and never knows anything about this because I'm a bad friend. But anyways, yeah, so that's that. Shame corner. Okay, yeah, that thing, I need to just get it done because it's bothering me. And then lastly, on the yarn front, I had this yarn that this is like a third of it because it was in 3 thin hanks that were all wrapped together and put into a skein of this hand spun. And a friend of mine gave it to me. Her mom was into fiber art and I think her mom had passed away, or we're not like super close friends or anything because otherwise I would know whether or not her mom passed away. I think she said that her mom passed away. I could be wrong. Maybe she is on like foster care. Is that what they call it? What do they call that? A nursing home. I'm not sure. But I think she passed away, and she had given me a whole bunch of fiber from her mom, and there was some of her hand spun in there. And it's really fun. It's like kind of thick and thin in spots, and it had some really fun colors that play together. And when I first saw it, I immediately thought I want to make a shawl out of it, even though it's not really next to Skin Soft, and it's not something that I would want to wear around my neck constantly. But I decided to make kind of a big, oversized, bulky shawl because it looks a little thin right here, but some of the yarn is quite thick. So I'm making it on 5.5mm needles, and I thought I would just make a big, oversized shawl, and then, which of course I haven't got very far, and just use it kind of like as a shoulder wrap for going outside. And so far I just have this simple, I'm just making it up as I go along, little diamond pattern or triangle pattern, and I'm gonna make these bigger ones into diamonds. And I thought about letting them like intersect each other. But yeah, so you can see there's a lot of really fun colors in there. Hopefully this is focusing because I can't see if it is. So yeah, I hopefully will really like it when it's done, but we'll see. I had gotten quite a bit farther and realized that I missed an increase somewhere and my stitch count was all wonky, and I did yarn surgery on it and opened it up and like fixed the one mistake, but then realized that I made another 2 mistakes. So I was like, okay, I'm confused. So I ripped it back and tried again from like here and re-knitted this section. So it's lining up right and I have all the correct number of stitches, and I'm paying a little bit closer attention to it now. So I'm going to try and chart this as I go along to learn, and yeah, just to learn about charting and stuff, and then maybe make a pattern for it if it turns out nice. I will probably knit it in a, if I do really end up liking the pattern that I come up with, then I'll probably knit it again in a more commercial yarn so that it's clearer to people what it looks like, because the hand spun is it's kind of doing its own thing, which I really like, but I want people to see that you can do it with, you don't have to have hand spun to make the project or whatever. So yeah, so that's that. I think that is all my knitting things for today, which is pretty cool. I mean, I don't know. I think my brain's dead. So yeah, so that's that. I can't think of anything else to share other than as far as knitting goes. Oh, no, that's not true. This last 2 weeks since I last podcasted has been semi-eventful. I can't remember my last episode. I think I was getting over a cold, maybe. Now I don't remember. But anyways, we've been sick recently, and my poor cat Wash, I think, caught it, which was horrible. I didn't think that was possible, and it may not have been what he had, even though he, like, acted exactly like all of us. When we were sick, the vet said, because I took him to the vet, that he could have caught some virus that they don't know about just from other cats, or he could have possibly caught what we had, I guess. In rare instances that happens. So the poor guy, and I mean, he was really exposed. The girls were like climbing all over him and kissing on him and getting snot all over him. And then a few days later, he was just not doing well. He had has hardly been eating, and just was sleeping constantly and acting kind of in pain. And thankfully he's better now, but he lost like a pound, which is like 10% of his weight. So that's kind of a lot to lose in a week. So he's doing a lot better, but it was scary for a while. I was really upset when the first day that I realized, like, oh no, something's really wrong. So I took him into the vet right away, and she just said, you know, try to keep him eating and drinking, and otherwise there's nothing you can do. Just wait it out. And thankfully she was right, and he's fine now. But he's still a little lethargic and weak, but he's doing a ton better. And he's like, the day that I'm way off track. This is a knitting podcast, but I'm going to talk about my cat because it's important to me. The day that he like finally kind of broke through and started feeling better, I came in from putting the girls down for bed, and he like meowed, walked up to me and started purring, and I was like, oh my kitty, like, and he like climbed up on my shoulders, and I just started crying because I was really worried about him, and I was worried that he would never crawl on my shoulders again and be the pest that he usually always is, because I didn't know if he was going to make it, and he is fine. Obviously, I was being a worried mother type about my own cat, but anyways, so thankfully he's fine. Thank you guys all for your well wishes for him. I had posted on Instagram about my concern. So yeah, that's the only big change, I guess, here. Yeah, I don't know if our whole cold thing was in between podcasts or before. Now I can't remember, but otherwise life has been good. We are just it's kind of a calm season. We're just feeding hay and waiting for lambs. Next month we'll have goat kids coming, and then in March is when we will start having lambs. So yeah, that'll be exciting and scary. Yeah, anyways, this feels super bizarre because I can't see myself, and I can normally see my own face, but now I feel like maybe it's not even recording me. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you want to join our knit along, you can go on Ravelry and shoot me a message. My name on Ravelry is Dandelion's Dream. And also you can follow me on Instagram if you want to see what I'm up to on a day-to-day basis, and on Facebook as Dandelion Dreams Knits, in case you're not into Instagram. So all my Instagram posts get double posted to there. So anyways, yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. If you could please like and subscribe, that would be awesome, and feel free to leave me any comments. I forget what my question was. I had some question. Oh yeah, if you could please help me to figure out what to do with that one project, that would be really helpful. I have mixed feelings towards that project. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching again. And yeah, have a great day. Bye.